What is up, sports fans? Got Garbage Time Gillen coming at you again with a daily fantasy sports advice video. Basically, this is for the daily fantasy player that maybe wants to get into DraftKings, wants to make that DraftKings money baby, but they don't really know how to start or where to start, what to research, stuff like that. So that's my job, here to get you that DraftKings money, and I'm going to teach you the basics today. When I first started getting into daily fantasy, I was watching YouTube videos and I was just thinking, like, they're speaking a different language right here. There's a lot of buzzwords that are not really easy to understand if you haven't heard them a lot, and I kind of felt intimidated. So hopefully you'll find this video helpful, and yeah, let's get into it. So first thing we're going to talk about is the two different types of contests. We have cash games and we have GPP games. Cash games are contests where about 50% of people are going to win, are going to cash out, are going to get in the money. The odds of winning or being in the money in a cash game are higher, but I actually got a little typo here. Your winnings are lower in cash games. So say you go off one week, you come in first in your 50-50 lobby, or your 50-50 contest. You're going to be making the same amount of money as the dude that came in 50th if it's a 100-person contest. Yeah, everyone that cashes is going to get the same amount of money. So because of this, you're going to want to target safe players with high floors and are good matchups. An example of this has been Eric Decker for me. He's pretty much the epitome of just consistency at the wide receiver position. You can pretty much count on him for a touchdown every single week. His price has been very low, but they just raised it to. It had been 5,600 for a while, and they just raised it to over 6,000. So now we're going to get into the GPPs, stands for Guaranteed Prize Pool. In these contests, about 20% or less of the entries are going to cash out. You're going to have much more entries, but in a contest, like, these are going to be your millionaire makers, your play action contests with hundreds of thousands of people in them. But you're also going to have higher payouts. So obviously, millionaire maker, $1 million, stuff like that. You want, in these GPPs, you want to target players with high ceilings, players you think are going to just go off. Another thing to consider when you're drafting your GPP lineups is percent ownership and recency bias. Now, percent ownership basically works like this in GPPs. Let's say you draft a player who is 50% owned, and he goes off. Basically, you've gained an advantage over 50% of the pool. So, you want to maximize, kind of balance out your projections of players and what you think they're going to be owned. And recency bias is a big thing. Like, it's basically if someone went off last week, their ownership's going to go up. Pretty much common sense there. You want to consider being contrarian, meaning going against the grain, like playing guys with lower percent ownerships. One example for me last week was Jarvis Landry. Uh, Knew he was going to go off against a banged up Jets secondary. And in my 80K play action contest, he only had 2.3% ownership, put up 38.9 points. So about 98% of you pinheads that didn't take Jarvis Landry, I just gained the upper hand on. So that's basically how percent ownership is going to work in GPPs. Just a disclaimer, percent ownership is irrelevant in cash games. The only times you're going to be looking at percent ownership is if you're in a GPP contest. Now here's a few more of these buzzwords that you might hear me or YouTube DFS experts using in their predictions. Fade and pivot basically mean the same thing, just to avoid a particular player team. Game script is how a game looks to play out. And the best thing you can look at when you're trying to figure out game scripts is the Vegas money lines. Here, just an example here, I got my Pats minus 9.5 against that just demoralized Philadelphia team. Um, and both teams are projected to score a total of 48.5 points. So this is a fairly high projected total points. Most of them are I'd say the average is in like the 43, 44 range. So just looking at this game script, I can see that Pats are probably going to blow out the Eagles. So LeGarrette Blount is one player that comes to mind looking at this. Pats are going to be blown out the Eagles. He's probably going to get a lot of carries, lots of volume to chew clock. So probably a good idea to get the Blount rolling this week. Next term, chalk, just means an obvious popular pick. Got you an example sentence. No matter who's in the Kansas City backfield, it'll be chalky. No matter if it's West or where. People are loving the Kansas City backfield, and I don't blame them. Now, huge concept right here. If you take one thing out of this video, I hope it's the QB, wide receiver, tight end stack. So basically, you want to stack a QB or QB and his wide receiver, and pretty much I'd advise in all the daily fantasy lineups you make, whether it's cash or GPP. And the reason for this is, for every big play that receiver makes, you're obviously going to get the yards and the touchdowns for your QB too. So it's double the upside. Now the only time I think you could get away without a QB wide receiver stack is if you're playing a mobile quarterback. Maybe Cam Newton be good if you don't want to stack him and Olsen. You could play Cam alone. The other QB I would stay away from running stacks with is Russell Wilson, just because you don't know who he's throwing to. But besides that, I'd say always run a stack. Next concept we're going to go over, last concept, is the salary multiplier. So to get your optimum value, if you're playing cash, you want your players to get 3 times their salary divided by 1,000 points, and 4 to 5 times in GPP. So here I got an example. Tom Brady, his salary is 8,000 this week. So if you're playing him in a cash game, which I think is a great play, he needs 24 points to meet value. That's pretty much easy money. In a GPP, he's going to need 32 to 40, which is definitely very probable against that Eagles team that just is showing zero effort, zero heart out there. And you know Tom Brady, your boy, TB12 GOAT, has the most heart in the game. He was absolutely livid in Denver, and I think him and the Pats are going to take the Eagles behind the woodshed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you win big this weekend. Please take the time to like the video, comment your suggestions for future videos, and subscribe. If this video gets 10 likes, I'll be putting out a video of my picks, some lineup advice for this weekend. So if you guys want to get that DraftKings money, make sure you like the video. This has been Garbage Time Gillen. I'm out. Stay trashy, sports fans.